Hi everyone, and welcome to this new webinar from Hootsuite. And today we're gonna speak about how to grow our social media presence. So we have a webinar of about an hour. We are around 150 people connected this morning, so it's really exciting for me to be with you today, talking about social media, talking about how we can grow our presence on social media, how we can grow our follower base, and we can schedule our content and post our content just to grow our presence, our effectiveness on social media. So my name is Chiara. I'm social media coach of Hootsuite. I train customers for Hootsuite Pro in EMEA across different countries. I would be really happy if you want to connect with me on Twitter. My username on Twitter is HootChiara, so is the one you see in this presentation. Just to let you know, I'm recording this webinar, so if you need to leave, if you will need to have the recording, I will post it into YouTube. So please feel free to send me a tweet, and I will be happy to send you the recording just after the webinar. So let's get started and let's see a little bit more about what Hootsuite can do to help you grow your social media presence. So we've already seen who I am. So again, if you want to get in touch with me, feel free to get in touch with me on Twitter. And also, if you have questions during the webinar or even after the webinar, feel free to send me a tweet with the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. Hootsuite Pro is the official hashtag that we use during the live webinars. So really feel free to send your questions, your comments, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. So before getting started with the topic of this morning, I just wanted to remind you that we also have a mobile application if you need to manage Hootsuite on the go. So if you are outside your office, if you are on the train, if you are in the tube, maybe not in the tube because sometimes the line is not working, but everywhere you are outside your office, you can still manage all your social media channels through our mobile application. So download it. It is free. It's available for both Android and iOS. So you can get started right now. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about how to build our social media presence. And to make the subject a little bit more clear and a little bit more structured, we normally talk about the three C's of building our social media presence. What does it mean exactly? It means that when we speak about building our social media presence, we normally talk about three topics, which is conversations, content, and connections. So let's dive into each of them. Now, when we speak about conversation, what we want to say is that through the Hootsuite dashboard, we can actually manage all our conversations happening online. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Hootsuite Pro. Hootsuite is a social media platform that allows you to manage all your social media presence, all your social media channels, by allowing you to build streams and tabs. So the first thing we want to do, and we will go in the dashboard straight away, just in 1 minute, we will see how we can build streams and tabs that allow us really to manage all our conversations. With Hootsuite, we can also post across multiple social networks, so we can do what we call a cross-network posting. We will see what the Hootlet is. A Hootlet is a powerful extension that works both for Chrome and Firefox that really allows us to share content in a very quickly way from wherever we are on the internet. And also we will have a look at how we can schedule our content in Hootsuite. So let's go into the dashboard and let's see a little bit more what we can do with this platform. Before going to the dashboard, I've seen a couple of questions of people in the chat that ask me if they can get a copy of the slides. I will make sure to post them on SlideShare, and I will pass the link on my Twitter handle. So let's go into the dashboard. Welcome to the dashboard. So this is the place where you will start to manage all your social media presence, all your social media channels. Now, as you see, I have different columns created already, but I want to give you a quick overview of what this platform is and how you can orientate yourself. Now, the thing you need to pass from one section to the other of the platform is the left-hand menu. Now, as you see in the left-hand menu, you see all the different sections of the platform. So we have the stream section, the publisher, the analytics, etc., etc. Now, if you need any help, any technical help, at the bottom of the list, we have the help section where you can actually access the help desk. From the help desk, you can see, you will probably find all the questions answered already, because we have a quite broad help desk with all the frequently asked questions already there. But if you do need a specific answer to a specific doubt, a specific problem that you might have on the dashboard, if you have a pro plan of Hootsuite, you will also see the possibility to send a direct ticket, and so to open a new ticket with the support. Now, where we are now, it's the stream section. The stream section is really where we can build our streams. So these are streams. These are the streams that allow you to monitor all your conversations, all the things that are happening on your social media profiles. So as you see here, I have already a streams where I can monitor the tweets that contain the hashtag HootsuitePro. And I'm really happy to see that there are already some people tweeting with the hashtag HootsuitePro joining the webinar today. So as you see, it's really, really easy to monitor all the conversation happening. Now, watching at the specific, before watching the specific tabs, the specific streams, let's have a look at the tab. So as you see at the top, in the top bar, I have several tabs, right? When we think of tabs, we can think of them as little folders, right? It's a kind of a filing cabinet where we can actually organize our content by topic. So we can create up to 20 tabs. Oops, sorry about that. Here, every time we click on the compose message box, of course, it shows up, so it open up. When we actually want to organize our content, the best thing to do is to create multiple tabs. Now, here you see already quite a long list of tabs, because of course I work with Hootsuite every day, so definitely I create quite a bit of content, and I need to create multiple tabs. But if you do want to create a new tab, the only thing you need to do is to look for this plus sign. Now, the plus sign allows you to create another tab, of course. You can create up to 20. You have up to 20 tabs that you can create in your dashboard, and within each tab, you can create up to 10 columns or stream. Now, once you create the tab, the thing you need to do is simply click on the Add Stream, and you can select the stream that you want to add, which could be a Twitter stream, a Facebook stream, and Google Plus or LinkedIn stream. Now, even when you click on Twitter, you still have to choose the profile, because as you see in my tabs, in my dashboard, you can actually manage a lot of Twitter profiles and a lot of Facebook profiles. So again, in here, we need to select the specific profiles we are working on in that specific moment. And again, we have to choose the specific column. So in this case, if I want to see the mention for the account that I've selected here, I simply click the plus sign for the mentions, right? So what it means is that in the background, there is a column that has been created that shows me all the mention on a timeline. So of course, the last one at the top is the most recent one. As you see, you have the possibility to add various columns, so you can see the direct messages, the inbox or the outbox, your sent tweets, your favorite tweets, your tweets retweeted, etc., etc. Now you can do that for all the channels, right? All the platforms. So if you need to monitor your Facebook page, your Facebook profile, you can click on the Facebook icon on the left. Again, in here, you can select the profile or the page. You see that there are different icons, so it should be quite straightforward for you to understand what you're working on in that moment. So if you want to add a column showing you a specific information of your profile, you click on your profile and then you select the specific column that you want to add. But as we've seen, we can also add pages. So we can also manage Facebook pages and Facebook groups. So as you see, I have quite a long list of profiles and pages and groups. I just wanted to remind you that with Hootsuite Pro, you can actually add up to 50 profiles, right? 50 profiles among pages, groups, profiles. So anything that you want to add counts as a profile, but you have up to 50. So 50 is quite a big number, and it should allow you to manage all your social media channels. If it's still not enough, you have the possibility to add extra packages of groups or profiles or pages. So you can add profiles in packages of 10 by 10, and you have a maximum of 100 profiles that you can manage all together in Hootsuite Pro. Now let's close this little window and let's see a little bit more what we have here. So of course, my dashboard is quite full already. For you, it will be a matter of trying what works for you. So as you see, I created a tab for each social network that I manage, so each social media platform that I manage. But let's say you work in an agency and you work for different clients, right? So you're managing the social media profiles for different clients and you want to help them to build their community, to build their social media presence. So what you might want to do instead of dividing the tabs by social network is actually to create a tab for each client, right? So there's not really a right or wrong. There's not really a best way to do that. There's only a way that works best for you, right? So it's only a matter of picking the criteria that really works the best for you. So give it a try. If you do create a tab that you don't like anymore, you can simply delete the tabs by clicking on the little cross. So there's nothing really that you can break, right? As I always say, you can just play around with the tool because you can't really break anything. Even if you create a tab that you didn't really want to create, you can always delete it. And the same is true for the columns. So again, feel free to experiment and to see a little bit what kind of columns you can create, what kind of information you can get from the platform, and how to best display all this amount of information. Now, we've said that the first thing we want to see in our dashboard is the amount of content that we share. Okay, so if we go back to our presentation, the first thing we want to see is how to manage the stream and tabs, how to cross post. We want to see how we can actually use the Hoodlet to help us to post and how to schedule the content. So let's see a little bit more. For example, if we see something that we like in one of our tabs, so in this case, I'm monitoring my hashtag Hootsuite Pro. Actually, let's do a step back and let's see how we can create a search tab, because this is something that is really, really important. So if we click on Add Stream again, now the section that we've seen is the stream section, right, where we can see the let's say the default streams, so the core streams of each platform. But if you see at the top right, we also have a search stream. Now, in this search section, we can actually search for a specific keyword, a specific hashtag, a specific topic. So this is exactly what I've done to create a column to monitor all the tweets related with Hootsuite Pro, right, with the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. So what I've done in here, I selected a profile, first of all. Now, after I select a profile, I enter my query. My query could be an hashtag, could be a keyword, could be multiple keywords. Just to give you an idea of the kind of queries you can do, you can click on the Show Examples button. In here, you don't really pay attention to the content of the searches here. They are a bit silly sometimes. So here we're looking for ninjas or pirates. It doesn't really matter, but what you want to pay attention to is really the structure of the query. So as you see, you can search for multiple keywords. You can search for a specific phrase. So this is called exact match query. So to do an exact match, which means looking exactly for these two keywords in this exact order, we simply put the inverted commas. We can use all the operators such as AND or these kind of operators that allow us to be a little bit more specific in our search. We can use negative keyword again because maybe we want to look for people who are using a specific keyword, but we want to avoid that tweets contain also another keyword. So we can simply use the dash and the negative keyword, which is the keyword we want to exclude from our search. Now, as you see here, we can also search for hashtags. So this is what I've done, and let's do it again. So this time I want to put an hashtag Hootsuite, right? Because of course people when they tweet they use multiple hashtags, and of course they create new hashtag every day. So just to make sure we find all the tweets containing all the different variations of hashtag that people might use, we want to make sure to create various columns just to make sure that we find all this different content. It might be a good idea, for example, to use even a misspelled word, because sometimes people might tweet something really, really interesting, but they misspell the word, so there is a typo in the word, and we might risk to lose those tweets. So really be creative with this kind of searches that you do. So here now we created an hashtag. We created a search for the hashtag Hootsuite. So what we do now is simply click on the add stream button. So as you see here, we have some tweets that contain the hashtag Hootsuite, right? So some of them might be the same as Hootsuite Pro, but of course is a different keyword, so we find different content. Perfect. So what's the first thing we want to do? But well, first of all, I would suggest to keep a really close look to the mention when we work for ourselves to build our presence, to build our connections. The mention is really the section where we pay attention to what people are telling us. So this is really the streams that you want to pay attention to on a daily basis, because these are people who really took the time to communicate with us, to open a conversation with us. So what I normally do is keeping the mention stream just next to the send tweets, because it's really easy for me to see, to kind of cross check if I replied with a tweet to all the mentions. And this is really important because it kind of shows that I'm active on my social media channels, and it shows people that I really take into considerations the thing that they tell to me. So in this case, for example, I'm seeing all the questions that are coming through for the webinars, and all the people who are tweeting about this webinar. So this is really a cool way to see what people are telling to me. And of course, if I was not speaking live, so if I was just working on my social media dashboard just by writing tweets, of course I would make sure to reply with a written tweet to all of them. I will just do that after the webinar because, of course, it's quite hard for me to speak and reply at the same time. But we will definitely take a look at the question coming through in a few minutes. So let's take a closer look to, for example, the search stream that we created with the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. We might find something that is really, really interesting, and we actually want to retweet, right? So as you see, the interaction with the users is really super easy, super straightforward when we work from the dashboard of Hootsuite Pro. Why I say that? Because you see, when I hover the mouse over the single tweet, for example, here we have a tweet from Ian, which is an ambassador, who is an ambassador from Hootsuite, if I'm not wrong. So from here, if I want, for example, to reply to Ian, the only thing I need to do is to hover the mouse over his tweets, and I will see a menu, a little menu where I have 4 options. So the first option is reply, and if I click on reply, it automatically brings the username into my compose message box, so I can simply type my answer, and I can say thanks for attending, right? So I can simply send my answer. Of course, when I want to write my answer, I can select the profile that I want to use to send this answer, and I can click on send now. So you see, it's really, really super easy to interact with our users. But answering is not the only option that we have. We can also retweet what the user is saying. We can send a direct message. I just want to remind you that you can send a direct message only if the user is following you, right? So if the user is not following you, it will give you an error message. And of course, we have a drop-down menu where we have a set of other options such as reply all. If there are multiple users involved in the tweet, I can click on favorite because, of course, this is another way to kind of open a contact, to open a channel with this user, because the user will receive a notification every time I click on favorite on one of his tweets, right? So as you see, once I have my streams, my dashboard set up, is really super easy to interact with all my users. Now, if I find something that I want to retweet, but I don't want to retweet it straight away, I have another option. So let me find a specific tweet that contain a link. So let's take this. We have a webinar. We have a tweet about a webinar. So we want to share the link. Okay. So what we do is we click on retweet, but as we see, we have two different buttons at this point. So one is yes, and one is edit. And when I click on edit, I can actually modify the tweet. I can actually schedule the retweet, or I can, for example, in this case, I see the tweet is a little bit longer than the number of characters allowed by Twitter. So what I can do is probably eliminating a little word just to make sure the tweet is the right length for Twitter, right? So of course, what happened is I need to modify slightly the tweet. And now I can send a tweet immediately, but I can also schedule the retweet, right? So this is really a powerful tool to really start to cross post from one network to the other. Because once I create this tweet, I can actually retweet it on multiple accounts, right? So if I want to retweet with another account, I can simply deselect the one and select another one. So in this way, I can retweet with multiple accounts that I'm managing, right? Now, if I want to modify this message in order to be more suitable for other social network, I can actually get rid of all the functions, all the text that is more specific for Twitter, and now this becomes a more neutral message, right? So this is kind of a more neutral post that I can actually post both on Facebook, on Google Plus, on LinkedIn. It really depends on where I'm more active. But it's definitely true that now that I modify my message in order to be available for in order to be suitable, let's say, for multiple channels, I can definitely come in my left-hand list of profiles, and I can post it into my Facebook profile. I can post it on a Facebook page, for example. I can post it on a LinkedIn page. So as you see, it's really, really easy to cross post messages from one channel to the other, right? Um, Now, if I'm on a Facebook stream, on the other hand, I don't have a repost message, right? I don't have a repost icon, so I can't really share directly from from a post on Facebook. Now, this is the time where our Hootlet come in help. So the other way to share a post from a Facebook page, from a Facebook profile that I'm managing, is just clicking on the link itself. Okay, so we can click on the link itself. We can come in here. So now I'm in a presentation mode, so I don't know if you can actually see my Hootlet over here. But as you see in my screen, I have a little icon which represents our logo. This is an extension that you can install for free into your Chrome browser. Once you install this extension, any page you want to share can be shared by simply clicking on this little icon. As you see, what this extension does is that it opens up a window that is definitely connected with our Hootsuite account, because here we have the same list of profiles that we've synced with our with our Hootsuite account. Okay, but I don't need to actually copy the URL and go into my Hootsuite account. I can just do that. I can just share the page directly from the page itself. So it's kind of bringing a little piece of Hootsuite inside my page, right? Inside the page I'm reading in that moment. So as you see here, I can select the profiles that I want. So if I want to share this page on a couple of profiles. I can share at the same time on a couple of profiles. And again, I can just send it now, or I can schedule exactly as I'm doing from the dashboard itself. So the mechanism is exactly the same. It's just way easier and way faster if we are scheduling the content for the whole week. Just to click on the link, also because in this way we make sure that we are actually sharing something interesting, something relevant, something that is worth sharing, right? So we don't share something, we don't want to share something blindly. So then we share something that at the end we realize is not actually a relevant topic or an interesting subject. So once we decided that this page is relevant sharing, we can modify, again, we can modify the description. So if we are sharing on Twitter, for example, we can just say, we can add an hashtag, we can add a mention if we want to mention someone. And then again, we select schedule and we schedule our tweet. As you see, we have a confirmation message that say this tweet has been posted. So this is a way to share something from a Facebook page that we manage into a Twitter account. Now, can we do the same with LinkedIn? Of course we can. So again, if we are into LinkedIn, which is really, really an amazing social network for more professional discussions, again, the only thing we need to do is to click on the link itself and then open up in a new page and then share it with Hootlet. The amazing thing of LinkedIn is that we can share not only our company updates, right? We can also see my updates and also the discussion of the groups. So I don't know if you're familiar with the groups in LinkedIn. If you don't belong to any group yet, I really recommend to be part of some LinkedIn groups because the connection there, the kind of discussions there are really, really relevant, especially if you of course join groups that are relevant for your industry. The quality of the connections that you get in LinkedIn is way higher than the connections you get on all the other social networks, because LinkedIn, of course, is a professional social network. So especially if you're looking to build your presence as a professional, as a consultant, as an agency, you really want to spend quite a bit of energy on LinkedIn, and especially you want to double check what's going on in the groups, and what's going on into the different discussions that are happening in the groups. Right. So again, if, for example, I created a tab for all updates, right? So the tab's called all updates. So let me just redo the process to kind of remind ourselves how to do that. So we click on Add Stream, we select LinkedIn, we select our profile, and we have three possible streams. So the My Updates is, of course, the updates that I'm sending. The All Updates is the column that shows me the updates of all my connections, right? So this is more interesting to see what's going on in the world in a way, right? So this is just the column that show me what's going on among my connections. What are they talking about? What are they sharing? What are the hot topics of the week, etc. Now the schedule updates is, of course, the column where I see my schedule updates. So I wanted to point you to the all updates column, simply because the all updates that now I have duplicated, but never mind, it's just an example. So what happened with the column all updates is that I have a stream of valuable information, especially if I have valuable connections on Twitter. So if I sorry, on LinkedIn. So if I have connections in LinkedIn that really share interesting topics, this becomes really an amazing source of content, a great source of content, because these are probably articles that my connection in LinkedIn found interesting. So they kind of, in a way, they've already been approved, right? So someone else already said that these are interesting articles, these are interesting texts. So for example, let me find something that is worth sharing. We can say, for example, okay, let's take Perfect. Online marketing, UK versus Germany, the battle of online marketing. Wow, this seems really interesting. So what we do, we simply go, we click on the link itself, and again, we can skim read the text just to make sure it's actually what it says on the tin. So it's actually relevant for the title, and it's something that is worth sharing. So definitely, this article is something that, in my opinion, is worth sharing because we're speaking about marketing and the marketing funnel. So I want to share that on my profiles. So again, what I do, if my browser allow me to show you, also, although I'm in a presentation mode, I hope you can see the little owl that I have on the corner. So I click on the owl, which is our extension, and again I have the same process. So I can come in here and cross post from LinkedIn into my Twitter account or my Facebook account, my Google Plus account, or even a group. So from here I can really build my conversations. I can really spread out my content, and keep in mind that the objective of social media is not just sharing my own content, is also aggregating relevant content. So my role, the way I build my social media presence, is also by being an aggregator, right? So one of the people I follow on social media that really I try to learn from is Guy Kawasaki, and he's saying is actually really important, is really an amazing service to your followers if you can aggregate news, if you can filter the best news and repost them, right? So you become an aggregator of news, and when people realize that by following you they will see a consistent stream of relevant information, they will definitely have a good reason to follow you, right? So if it makes sense, this is really the best way to grow our base, by sharing consistently relevant content. Now, let me auto schedule these tweets, right? So in this case, we can also have a closer look at our scheduling system. So let me go back into my Hootsuite dashboard. Now, we've seen already at least two ways to schedule, right? So one is the manual scheduling. Let me uncheck some of my profiles here just to avoid posting something by mistake. So now, when it comes to scheduling, we just want to click on the little calendar over here. We've seen already that we have at least two ways to schedule a message. So we can auto schedule, right? And we can schedule manually. So when we schedule manually, it's really straightforward. So the only thing we need to do is to pick the date on the calendar, choose the time, right? And we can click on schedule. So this is really the most straightforward thing we can do. Now, if we don't want to actually think of when it's best to post this message, we can use the auto schedule. So the auto schedule, we can think of it as putting the messages in a queue, right? And then we tell the auto schedule how many messages of that queue we want every day. So once we come into the setting and we say to the auto schedule, post 3 of these messages every day. So the auto schedule taking away the queue of messages that we keep posting, right? And it just spread them nicely 3 per day, because here we said, of course, 3 per day, but we can increase it. And if we are really, really active, if we have a lot of time, if we have the possibility to produce more content, to look for more content, then we definitely can increase the number, right? So again, this is a way to just not having to think of the best time, the best day. We just keep finding good content and clicking auto schedule, and the auto schedule will just spread the messages, spread the content nicely in a consistent way over the week, over the days. And of course, we can kind of control it in a way. We can kind of decide a little bit the time frame, right? So if in a day we want our content to go out from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., we just say to the auto schedule, just post within this time range. And we can do the same thing with the weekdays, right? So again, this is a way to kind of be able to control a little bit more what the auto schedule does for us. Perfect. So once we start scheduling messages, we might wonder where these messages are going, right? So we can use the section called Publisher. When we are in the Publisher, we can actually see the calendar of what we are about to publish, so the scheduled messages. You can see a nice list in here, really useful in some cases, but in some other cases you might prefer to have a calendar view. Now you can go into the top right corner. So if you have a Hootsuite Pro account, you will see these four options. Unfortunately, if you have a Hootsuite free account, you will only see the list, but it's still useful, so you can still see all your scheduled messages. But of course, if you need to have a weekly view or a monthly view, you can click on these other options. And as you see, is really amazing the overview that you can have over the next days, over the next weeks, if you click on the monthly view, right? So this is really my editorial calendar, and is great because I don't have to think too much. It's really clear. It's just showing me how many messages I'm posting per day and how they are organized over the next days, right? If for example I realize that I'm posting too much, or I'm posting something, I'm posting tweets too close to each other, like in this example, I can simply click on one and postpone it or change the day, right? So I can simply click, drag and drop it, pretty much as if I'm working on my Google Calendar. Okay, so this is the way we can find content, we can start scheduling content, we can cross post content from one platform to the other. So let's go back into the presentation and kind of review what we've seen until now. And then maybe I take a couple of seconds just to reply to some question that I see coming through into the chat of GoToWebinar. So we've seen how to manage the streams and tabs. We've seen how to cross network how to cross post across multiple networks. We've seen how to use the Hootlet to kind of help us in this cross posting task, right? And we've seen how we can schedule the content in Hootsuite. Now, before going into the content section of the webinar, let's take a moment to kind of have a look at some questions that might be interesting for everyone else. So let me have a look. Okay, perfect. So I have a question of Natalia asking me, can I also see how many views my company's Twitter account got? Is there any analytics tool available? Thank you, Natalia, for this interesting question. We definitely have an analytic tool. So the analytic tool is actually a topic of a separate of a separate webinar, because of course it's kind of a huge topic in itself. So we have a dedicated webinar for that, but we can absolutely create reports. We can create reports and we can see the ROI, if you want, of our social media activity. Um, Perfect. We have another very interesting question by Joe. Joe is asking me, does it matter which profile you search from? Will it search all of Twitter or just the profile selected? This is really interesting question. When I select the profile before typing my query, is not actually searching just in my followers, right? Is searching in all Twitter. So the searches are always done across all the content of Twitter. But if I want to interact with the tweets I find, then I will interact with the profile I've just selected. So it's kind of, the system asks me to choose a profile before doing a search, just because if I click on favorite, if I retweet, if I reply, I will do it with that profile. Perfect. So I will answer to the last question and then we go back into our presentation. So I have a question by Stuart that is asking me, how do you narrow the search to tweets near a location? This is really good question again. So it gives me the opportunity to kind of explore another function of the Hootlet. Now, if you install the Hootlet, you can always go into Map, Google Map. So now we are in London. We can pick any specific position in on the map. And as you see, because I installed the Hootlet, I have an option coming up here, which is tweets near here. Now, this option, once I click on it, generates a column with all the tweets around the position I clicked on the map. I can also define the radius. So if I want a radius of 500 meters, 1 kilometers, 5, 10, 25, I can simply drag the bar at the top, and this will increase the radius of my search. So in this case, I'm looking at the tweets sent. Let's decrease a little bit at 1 kilometer around horse guards parades, right? So we are near Buckingham Palace. We are in the center of London, so we want to see what people are tweeting in this position. So we just click on the tweets near here, and we will find the list of what people are saying. And as you see, it's really up to date because these are people tweeting 1 minute ago, 2 minutes ago. So now I can add this tabs, this search to my dashboard by simply click the button add to Hootsuite. And again, I can also decide if I want to add it to an existing tab or to a new tab. So I can just select add to a new tab, and the stream is successfully added. Now, I have another way to do that. Actually, when I do a search, so let me click on add stream again. I can also, without going into Google Map, I can go in search and I can say, for example, we look at social media. So we want to see who is talking about social media. And then I can simply click on this little icon on the right. What this little icon does is grabbing the code of my location to kind of search only for the tweets that have been sent around my location. And again, in here, I can modify the radius. So the default radius in this case is 25 kilometers, but I can make it smaller or larger if I want. So again, in here, it's a geolocated search. The thing is that by default, this is the geocode of my position. So it might be that I'm currently in my office in London, but I want to perform a search in Manchester, for example, or Brighton. So in this case, it's much better to go into Google Map and to use the Hootlet itself. Perfect. So let's keep with our presentation. Let's go on with our presentation. The time is running really, really fast. Unfortunately, the time is never enough when we speak about Hootsuite, about social media. There are always so many interesting things to say, and I feel that time is never enough. But don't worry, we have weekly webinars, so you can always register yourself for the following webinars. In each webinar, we focus on one specific topic, and we try to go a little bit more in depth into that. So now, when we have to find content, we've already seen a couple of things. So we've already seen how to use the social listening function. Social listening function is basically the keyword search, right? So one thing we can do is to start listening for the conversation that are happening around our brand, and then the conversations that are happening around our industry. So we can pick some specific keywords that are relevant for our industry. And then, of course, we can also look for the conversations happening around competitors, just to keep an eye on them and to see what they're doing. Now, we also have a new function, well, relatively new because it's a few months old. This new function is called suggested content, and of course, as the word suggests, it's a function that allows us to get some suggestions from Hootsuite, right? So we can we can select 3 topics, and we will have some suggested content from Hootsuite. Now, when it comes to looking for content, we can also use some of the applications in the app directory. And of course, we can also use the Hootsuite syndicator and the RSS Atom feed. So let's go into the dashboard and let's see a little bit more about this function to look for content. So this part is really, really exciting because one of the main problems when I speak with clients, one of the main problems that come up is actually how to find good content. So I would say 70-80% of the times when I speak with a client, the first thing they ask me is how can I find content to share, and then just after that, or probably at the same at the same level of importance, is how can I grow my follower base, right? So just to answer to the first question, how to find good content, we have several functions, right? So the first one that I wanted to show is the one we just saw into the presentation. So we can go into Publisher. And we see that we have suggested, right, which is a beta function. Beta simply because we are testing it, so it's in a beta version. Once it will be approved in a way, when it will be tested, everything is working fine. It will this little indication will be removed, but it's still working. So it's already working, even if it's under testing. So what it does is finding good content associated with three specific topics that we can decide. So I already selected three topics. I believe I selected social media, marketing, and e-commerce or something like that, but we can always change it. So we can go into settings at the top right, and we can type in our three topics, right? So these topics can be changed over time. It's just a matter of finding the topics that are more relevant for us. If, for example, I don't want to use e-commerce anymore, but maybe I want to see, for example, inbound, right? I can change it. So no problem at all. In here, we select the profiles where I want to send the tweets that I will find, the content that I will find. Of course, this can be changed time by time. So this is just a default selection, but every time I can modify it. And I click on save, right? So now what happened is the system will start looking for content, fetching suggestions, right? And of course, it will offer me a list of possible pieces of content that I can share if I want. Of course, it's not. I'm not forced to publish all the content that the system suggests me. I have to approve them before they can be published. So of course, Hootsuite will never publish something without your approval, right? So these are topics that I've already accepted. So these are suggestions that I've already accepted. So I scroll down a little bit just to see. Of course, I have a lot of scheduled content. So my list is a bit full. Here we go. So now we have something from Mashable, for example. We have something from inbound.org. So as you see, the quality of our sources is quite high. So we don't pick random blogs, we don't pick random websites. We normally try to pick really reliable sources, right? So of course, if I like, for example, the suggestion, I don't necessarily like this about video games, but I might actually prefer this topic, these tweets. So the best content marketing tool for efficient marketers. Definitely, I'm interested in this. So what I can do is I can actually click on schedule. It also picked the best time for me. So it found out the best time is at 8:50 a.m. If I want to schedule just this, I click on a button. If I want to schedule multiple tweets at a time, multiple messages at a time, I click on them on the by ticking the box, and I just say schedule, right? So I have to do it only once, and it will schedule all these tweets at one time. We have also said that we have some applications that allow us to find good content. So the applications are into the app directory. The app directory is on the left-hand menu. The two applications I invite you to try, if you haven't tried them yet, are Tagfeeder, right? So this is a relatively new application. It is pretty much as the suggested content is few months old. This is a free application, and it's really amazing because we can look for one specific keyword, one specific hashtags, and it will pull results from a variety of channels, specifically from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Google+. So really a huge variety of channels. And this application will look for the content that contains that hashtag across all these channels. Now, the other application that I wanted to invite you to try is another free application. It's called Talkwalker. This is similar to Google Alerts, right? So if you're familiar with Google Alerts, works in a pretty similar way. So once you install the application, let me actually show you how it looks like. So I go into my stream. I have as you see, I created a tab called Apps for Content, right? So apps for content are just the applications where that I can use to find for more content. So as you see, I have my tag feed in here. I'm looking for hashtag Hootsuite. As you see, I have some content from Google+, some content from Instagram, etc., etc. So really good tool. The other one that is still a bit slow is Talkworker. So in this application, I can set up a keyword and I can look for content on blogs, forums, and news websites. So in a way, what I always say is that they kind of complete each other, because Stagfeed is looking for content across social and Talkworker is looking for content across websites. Perfect. So what I can do is I can create a new alert, right? So again, if I want to look for Hootsuite, I can type my query, and here I can filter by result type. So I can filter. I might say that I want results from the blogs, from discussions, which means forums, and or from the news website, right? So in this case, I want to find the result from all these different channels. So I leave it to everything, and here I can select by language. So if I don't want results in different languages, I can just click on English, right? And I have my preview. Now I confirm my search, and again, I have a huge list of relevant content that I can reshare across my multiple social media channels. Now, how I do that? I simply hover the mouse over the specific article, and I find the same sharing option that I found on other channels such as Twitter, right? So in Twitter we had retweet, in here we have the sharing option. If I want to share, for example, this article from Forbes, the only thing I need to do is clicking on share, and it automatically brings the title in my compose message box from where I can actually share it across all my social media platforms, all my social media channels. So again, this is really a fast way to find relevant content and to share it across my multiple channels. We also saw the RSS feed. Now, the RSS Atom feed is a way to auto publish the article from a specific blog. So this we need to be quite careful with this option, because of course once we set it up, it will publish all the articles that will be published on that blog. So for example, I have my blog.hootsuite.com RSS feed, and I have the feed from Social Media Today. I really recommend you to be careful with that, because you don't want to publish you don't want to use the RSS Atom feed with a blog you're not really sure about, because of course if they publish articles that suddenly they publish articles that are not relevant anymore, they will still come out from your social media profiles. So let's try to see the last part of our presentations. And I really apologize if the presentation is a bit rushed. There is a lot of content going on in here, so I will make sure to reply to all your questions just after the webinar. So even if you contacted me on the chat, I will make sure to reply to all of you. Now, just to finish the overview of this morning, how can we find new connections through Hootsuite? We have different options. So we used already the keyword filter, right? So we've already seen how we can create a search stream. Now, what we didn't see yet is that once we create a search stream in Twitter, so let me close this window over here. Once we create the search stream in Twitter, we can actually filter by cloud score, right? So the cloud score that we can use is just okay. Let's open a new dashboard. It seems a bit slow. We can actually filter the result that we find by cloud score. Now, if you're not familiar with the cloud score is simply a way to indicate how relevant the people are on social. So the higher the cloud score, the higher the relevance, the importance of that users online. So the influence of that people online. So it seems like we have a little problem with our dashboard. Let me see if we can try to fix it. It seems like we run into a slow moment for our dashboard. Here we go. So we go back into one of the search. Here we go. So we use actually the Hootsuite Pro search that we just created. We click on the drop-down menu at the top, and as you see, we can filter by an extra keyword, right? So this is the list of people using the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. But I might want to search for people who use the hashtag Hootsuite Pro plus marketing, for example, right? So as you see, I can simply filter by an extra keyword, but I can also filter by cloud score. Now, as we saw before, the higher the cloud score, the higher the influence of this person online. So a cloud score of, for example, I keep using Ian as an example because he has a very high cloud score, so it's 77, but he's of course a consultant and as an ambassador, so it makes sense that he's quite relevant in the industry. So I can definitely tell that he's quite he's quite an influencer in the section in the industry. So if I didn't know him, I might definitely want to connect with him, because connecting with someone who is an influencer in the industry, make sure that that the tweets that he retweets gets more visibility, that I have access to a good quality content if I follow what he's posting, etc. So this is a way to kind of filter by cloud score, and to find good connection, right? So good content, good contacts to add to my list, to the people I follow. I might actually want to create a specific list for influencer, for example. So if I want to create a list for influencer, I simply go into the list. If I do have one, I can simply click on one. If I don't have, so of course I have quite a bit of lists here, but let's make the example of creating a new list. So let's see how we can create a new list in case we didn't have one. Now, if you're not familiar with a Twitter list, it's just a way to group users together, right? So here we can say, for example, influencers, right? Or we can say actually social media influencers. We can keep it public or private. So let's keep it private for the moment. And we add the stream. Of course, at that time will be empty. But of course, after let me drag and drop it. So as you see, I can also reposition all my columns, right? So once I create my list, I start populating it. So I can take the results from my search where I filter by cloud score, and I select the people who have the higher cloud score, and I just drag and drop them into my influencers list. So in this case, I will be able to, without losing too much time, I will just go into this list next time I'm looking for content, and I will see a stream of super high quality, super relevant content posted by people who I identified as influencers, right? So this is another way to kind of find more interesting connection on social. Perfect. So we are at the end of this webinar. Really a lot of good content, a lot of tips that you can start implementing from now to grow your social media presence, to post more regularly, to find more content, to find more connections, right? So to find more users to connect with, and in a way to have a presence that is more consistent on social. So in a way to kind of be more present in a more relevant way. If you do want to learn more, we run weekly webinars. So we have webinars we have an introduction to Hootsuite Pro just to learn a little bit more about the specific functions of the platform. The webinar will be a little bit slower, so we will be able to see more in details every function of the dashboard. And then, as I was mentioning before, we have a webinar dedicated to analytics. We have a webinar about collaboration, which is the possibility to collaborate with other people on our social media profiles. And we also have a webinar dedicated to our app directory, which we saw very briefly today, just with a couple of applications. It's just to give you a teaser. But of course, we have many more applications that can help us with our work on social media. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. It was really nice to be with you for an hour. I'll make sure to reply to all your questions on Twitter. And for now, I wish you a very nice day, and I wait to I'll be glad to have you at the next webinar. Thank you very much. See you soon. Hi everyone, and welcome to this new webinar from Hootsuite. And today we're gonna speak about how to grow our social media presence. So we have a webinar of about an hour. We are around 150 people connected this morning, so it's really exciting for me to be with you today, talking about social media, talking about how we can grow our presence on social media, how we can grow our follower base, and we can schedule our content and post our content just to grow our presence, our effectiveness on social media. So my name is Chiara. I'm social media coach of Hootsuite. I train customer for Hootsuite Pro in EMEA across different countries. I would be really happy if you want to connect with me on Twitter. My username on Twitter is HootChiara, so is the one you see in this presentation. Just to let you know, I'm recording this webinar, so if you need to leave, if you will need to have the recording, I will post it into YouTube. So please feel free to send me a tweet, and I will be happy to send you the recording just after the webinar. So let's get started and let's see a little bit more about what Hootsuite can do to help you grow your social media presence. So we've already seen who I am. So again, if you want to get in touch with me, feel free to get in touch with me on Twitter. And also, if you have questions during the webinar or even after the webinar, feel free to send me a tweet with the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. Hootsuite Pro is the official hashtag that we use during the live webinars. So really feel free to send your questions, your comments, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. So before getting started with the topic of this morning, I just wanted to remind you that we also have a mobile application if you need to manage Hootsuite on the go. So if you are outside your office, if you are on the train, if you are in the tube, maybe not in the tube because sometimes the line is not working, but everywhere you are outside your office, you can still manage all your social media channels through our mobile application. So download it. It is free. It's available for both Android and iOS. So you can get started right now. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about how to build our social media presence. And to make the subject a little bit more clear and a little bit more structured, we normally talk about the three C's of building our social media presence. What does it mean exactly? It means that when we speak about building our social media presence, we normally talk about three topics, which is conversations, content, and connections. So let's dive into each of them. Now, when we speak about conversation, what we want to say is that through the Hootsuite dashboard, we can actually manage all our conversations happening online. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Hootsuite Pro. Hootsuite is a social media platform that allows you to manage all your the specific tabs, the specific streams. Let's have a look at the tab. So as you see at the top in the top bar, I have several tabs, right? When we think of tabs, we can think of them as little folders, right? It's a kind of a filing cabinet where we can actually organize our content by topic. So we can create up to 20 tabs. Oops, sorry about that. Here, every time we click on the compose message box, of course, it shows up, so it open up. When we actually want to organize our content, the best thing to do is to create multiple tabs. Now, here you see already quite a long list of tabs because, of course, I work with Hootsuite every day. So definitely, I create quite a bit of content, and I need to create multiple tabs. But if you do want to create a new tab, the only thing you need to do is to look for this plus sign. Now, the plus sign allows you to create another tab, of course. You can create up to 20. You have up to 20 tabs that you can create in your dashboard, and within each tab, you can create up to 10 columns or stream. Now, once you create the tab, the thing you need to do is simply click on the Add Stream, and you can select the stream that you want to add, which could be a Twitter stream, a Facebook stream, and Google Plus or LinkedIn stream. Now, even when you click on Twitter, you still have to choose the profile because, as you see in my tabs, in my dashboard, you can actually manage a lot of Twitter social media presence, all your social media channels, by allowing you to build streams and tabs. So the first thing we want to do, and we will go in the dashboard straight away, just in 1 minute. We will see how we can build streams and tabs that allow us really to manage all our conversations. With Hootsuite, we can also post across multiple social networks, so we can do what we call a cross-network posting. We will see what the Hootlet is. A Hootlet is a powerful extension that works both for Chrome and Firefox, that really allows us to share content in a very quickly way from wherever we are on the internet. And also we will have a look at how we can schedule our content in Hootsuite. So let's go into the dashboard, and let's see a little bit more what we can do with this platform. Before going to the dashboard, I've seen a couple of questions of people in the chat that ask me if they can get a copy of the slides. I will make sure to post them on SlideShare, and I will pass the link on my Twitter handle. So let's go into the dashboard. Welcome to the dashboard. So this is the place where you will start to manage all your social media presence, all your social media channels. Now, as you see, I have different columns created already, but I want to give you a quick overview of what this platform is and how you can orientate yourself. Now, the thing you need to pass from one section to the other of the platform is the left-hand menu. Now, as you see in the left-hand menu, you see all the different sections of the platform. So we have the stream section, the publisher, the analytics, etc., etc. Now, if you need any help, any technical help, at the bottom of the list, we have the help section where you can actually access the help desk. From the help desk, you can see, you will probably find all the questions answered already, because we have a quite broad help desk with all the frequently asked questions already there. But if you do need a specific answer to a specific doubt, a specific problem that you might have on the dashboard, if you have a pro plan of Hootsuite, you will also see the possibility to send a direct ticket, and so to open a new ticket with the support. Now, where we are now, it's the stream section. The stream section is really where we can build our streams. So these are streams. These are the streams that allow you to monitor all your conversations, all the things that are happening on your social media profiles. So as you see here, I have already a streams where I can monitor the tweets that contain the hashtag Hootsuite Pro. And I'm really happy to see that there are already some people tweeting with the hashtag Hootsuite Pro joining the webinar today. So as you see, it's really, really easy to monitor all the conversation happening. Now, before watching the specific, before watching